When we approach the vehicle with the key, it has the full proximity key system. So it senses the key, it knows the key gets close, and what it does is it turns on the interior lights, but it doesn't turn on any exterior lights. Let's go ahead and hit the unblock button. When we do that, we have the headlights, the tail lights, but there's no approach light. There's no light here on the ground to help you navigate the ground to get to the vehicle, like a side light or anything like that. It is an off-road capable vehicle as well, so that would be nice if they added that. The headlight switch is not illuminated, and the interior lights don't really shine on it, so you kind of have to know what you're doing. So it does have an off position, automatic, parking, and then headlights. Now the off position can turn off all the exterior lights. But when you put it in drive, all the lights turn back on. Now I have the parking lights on, and the parking lights are these white lights here on the sides, visible from the front and the side, looking pretty cool, mostly an accent light. Not overly bright, you're not going to mistake these as headlights or anything. Now there is an amber light that's visible here from the front, so it's not just a side marker. We have the light there in the front and here on the side. This is the actual side marker here, and then the amber light coming from the front that's kind of a little bit unusual to have that type of light on a parking light. There's a red side marker here in the back, and then you have the red tail lights, and they have a pretty neat design here. The tag light's also on, shines a little bit on the ground. Turn signal on the front is basically that same amber light we saw on the front. It's now flashing, and you can see it's a standard halogen bulb, and it maintains that light between flashes actually. There's also a turn signal indicator here on the side mirror. It's a LED. It's not too bright, but it is visible from the front, the side, and the back. It's definitely brighter this way. Then there's an amber turn signal indicator back here, and it is a halogen bulb once again. So it has that slow fade in and out. There's also a brake light at the top of the glass, and then the reverse lights are integrated in the tail lights here. So let's switch to the low beams. You can see you're definitely not going to mistake those daytime running lights or parking lights as headlights or anything. They're not overly bright. Now there's the fog lights I'm turning on and off. You can see it illuminates close to the vehicle and on a little bit on the sides there. And as we go down the road, as we're going on a dark road and we're going in areas, the fog lights really help out because there's no cornering light. So it has the type of headlights that move back and forth, but they don't really do anything for me anyway. I'd rather have a cornering light. Since this one doesn't have that, the fog lights kind of serve as that role. And you know, we'll see I'll show you as we drive. Okay, so the light here is basically just a projector LED. No fancy multiple lenses or anything like that. And then we have a reflector LED fog light down here. So looking at it back here, I can look directly at the headlights right now, standing up, and they're not blinding me at all, not one bit. When I dip the camera down, it's about 2.5 feet off the ground. That's where all the light is. So there's a very clear cutoff where there's very little light and then a huge amount of light below, basically to keep it from going in the eyes of the oncoming drivers while still illuminating the ground well. Now let's switch to the high beams. You can see the fog lights turn off, and then it's quite dark close to the vehicle. And it doesn't look like we're actually adding more light. We just have the same projector, it's just refocused. So we'll see how it performs. Considering this is an off-road capable vehicle, you can go on the Outback with it, or you can go out in the middle of nowhere. You want to have good headlights, and we'll see how they perform. If they're not looking all that great right now, I'll just say that. The cargo area design is a little weird. First of all, as this light up here, it's in the very center though. Typically these type of lights are considered over-the-shoulder type lights, but I'll show you here in a second why center isn't always best, right? So you can see this other light right here in the center and shining down, but there's no lights here on the sides. So there's no lights here or anything like that. So as it is right now with that shade in place, we have a huge shadow underneath it. There's also, it's very dark in these areas here. So we only have that one light. Now, typically, to cover up my equipment, I'll have the shade pulled out, and right here, because it has this ability to, you know, raise the shade up like that when you're not using it, but you see it blocks the light. So, you know, if you want to use the shade at all, it really does diminish the whole lighting system here. So yeah, redesigning this would be better. Also, as I step forward, the light's in the very center, and it kind of casts a huge shadow. It just completely blocks that light if I stand in the center. So I have to stand to one side or the other in order to use this quote over the shoulder light. So yeah, really weird design. It's not very well thought out, I think, especially considering this is the type of vehicle that you can take in the middle of the nowhere, and you know, you might be in very dark areas, much darker than the area I'm at. And so yeah, it can be a problem using the cargo area. Definitely needs to be improved. The inside of the back door, there's no puddle lights, no approach lights, there's no pocket lights. There's nothing but a single light here to find the power window switch. The back seats have these lights right there in the center, just a little dome light there. And right in the very center of the seat, it's kind of okay, but the floorboard's dark and it's not really that bright. Considering we had the full interior lights on, this is not even really that great. We do have some backlit buttons here for the heated seats and the USB ports there, which is nice. So yeah, all that's backlit. Wow, we actually have a puddle light here in the front. It is a halogen bulb, not super bright, but it does give us lights to shine on the ground when we get out to see what we're stepping in. So kind of surprised they actually added that. That's really good. That's good. We do have the backlit buttons here, all backlit except for the presets for the seat are not backlit. None of the pockets are backlit. Floorboards are not illuminated. And once again, we just have these lights right here in the center. They don't really shine everywhere. Like the headlight switch here is completely dark, and even with the interior lights on, it's kind of hard to see what's going on. You know, you have a trip reset here, it's not illuminated, and once again, it's not even with the interior lights on, you can't see it. So yeah, we've got some issues here on the inside, as we'll see going forward. Okay, so I have all the interior lights on, and not very bright. Now, one good thing about this situation is the interior lights are not blinding you. They're not in your face at all, but they're not really helping in other areas though. Okay, so let's turn off the interior lights so you can see the backlit buttons here. So yeah, the lights are almost to the maximum brightness. It's actually, if you go all the way to maximum, it makes the screens way too bright. So I'm gonna bring it down. So that's the normal, that's like the highest you can go without going full blast on the screens, basically. So there we go there. And this screen here. And it has a little steering wheel heater button, which is backlit here, which is nice. So everything on the steering wheel is backlit. Just those other buttons that I mentioned before that are not backlit. So this one has a driver attention monitor. So it has a little infrared light and camera here. And sometimes it picks up on my camera, but it's not now. But it's pretty bright. It actually shines in your face while you're driving. You can't see it with your eyes, but when you turn on the infrared illuminator, you know, camera or something, it's super bright and it shines through your sunglasses and everything to make sure you're paying attention to the road day or night. Now there is a little pocket right here, and it has a nice bright light in there. I don't know if you can see that. It kind of looks dim on camera, but it is fairly bright. Let me turn the brightness up a little bit here. And the backlit USB ports there. Has auxiliary input. That's interesting. It does have a camera system, which in this particular case, it's just a backup camera that you can view. It's not like you have the 360 camera or anything. Now this center area right here is completely dark. The cup holders, all that stuff. And the center console has two sections, a top section and then a bottom section. Both are dark. It has these little lights on the CD player in here though, but the pockets are dark. I mean, let me turn on the inside lights. Well, I just saw something else. Okay, the light The switch that turns on the interior lights, the only time you're gonna use that switch is at nighttime when you can't see, right? Well, that one switch is not illuminated. So I know right where it is, and I have a little bit of light here. So that switch doesn't even turn on all the interior lights. All it does is make it turn on the light when you open the door. So yeah. Okay, and that's just that. This one still stays on. Okay, I'm going a little bit of tangent here. Typically that switch to turn off so you don't have the interior lights turn on when you open the door, people call that like a baby feature. Like you don't want the lights to shine in the baby's face when you open the door. Let's say they're sleeping when you're driving, right? Well, this one has that feature you can turn it off when you open the door, but this brighter one is in the back seats that doesn't do that. So it has a separate switch here. So you have to have the separate switch for that. Anyways, yeah, it doesn't make much sense. Okay, so you have these individual lights here and here. So let's go ahead and turn them both on. So that's the only way to turn on the interior lights. So now we can see in here, it actually shines in here fairly well. So that is helpful because sometimes interior lights don't even shine in the pocket, so that's good. So at least they redeem themselves to some degree with that. The glove compartment has a little tiny orange looking light in there, and you can see it's only on one side. Not very useful, but it's better than nothing, I guess. There's a compartment right here, which you can't see, is dark as well. So yeah. All right, so let's go to the visor, which does have lights and a mirror. This rear view camera works excellent, day or night. I really like these. I'm glad that I'm seeing more and more manufacturers go to the rear view camera in addition to the rear view mirror. So you have to go forward a little bit before the headlights will start moving. I don't know if you can see that. It's like when you turn left, the left headlight moves to the left. When you turn right, the right headlight moves to the right. Now, I'll show you when we go down the road what's going on here. So you can see these little shadows. There's like two shadows that are moving around. There's the headlight pattern on the fence. There's the high beams. There's the low beams. And so you can see this little shadow, and each one has an independent shadow. And those shadows are supposed to, the design of headlights is to have a shadow on the oncoming lane to reduce glare for when it's raining or if you're going up and down hills. It's supposed to have this little shadow there. But since these are headlights that move, it moves the shadows as well. So we'll see how it goes. Because you're just moving the shadow and the headlight and all that stuff, so they're not in the fixed position on the oncoming lane all the time. They're all over the place, especially considering they separate. One headlight moves, the other one stays still. Also, they don't move that far over. So let me go ahead and make sure we got the fog lights on. There we go. Yeah, make sure those are on, because up close to the vehicle, especially with the, basically, especially with the high beams, I mean, up close to the vehicle, you can't really see much. Also, I should mention that I have the headlight, the camera brightness a little bit higher than what it looks like in real life, so you can see the pattern better. Otherwise, it would be kind of dim, so my camera is making it look brighter than what it is. So let's, okay, so as we go down this hill, you'll see that when we're relatively straight, those two shadows do kind of line up with the oncoming lane fairly well. So it looks like, for the most part, they're lining up with the oncoming lane. A little bit in my lane, the one on the right. Yeah, okay, so right there, they're lined up properly. So once we get to a turn, so as I turn the steering wheel, you can see they're gonna move around a little bit, but there's a straight road, so we're not turning the steering wheel. So yeah, instead of having the motion lights moving around, I would prefer having a cornering light, or at the very least turning on the fog light when I turn in the direction that I turn, like some manufacturers. Because let's go ahead and turn the fog lights off. Yeah, when I turn the fog lights off, like close to the vehicle, it's very, very dark. It's kind of hard to tell now because we're got a lot of street lights. Now I'm being a little bit I'm scrutinizing this vehicle a little bit more than the average, because first of all, it's $45,000. Second of all, it's an Outback. It's an all-wheel drive Outback intended to be, you're going to go out in the middle of nowhere with it, right? So, okay, so there's the low beams, there's the high beams, and it just looks like it's okay. Okay, it's adequate headlights, I would say, but they're not very bright. You know, they need to be a little bit brighter, especially if you're going in areas in which you're, you know, a very, very dark area. These are, the thing is, it just has one projector, and it's just refocusing the same light to a higher position. And even though you can see fairly well, and the evenness of the light is actually pretty impressive, considering we only have one light on each side. So being able to spread that light out on the road and on the sides of the road, I mean, I can see fairly well. It's just not very bright, and that's my criticism, is the actual pattern, other than close to the vehicle, you know, unless I have the fog lights on, the pattern is actually fairly even, you know, and that's pretty impressive considering one projector on each side is able to, you know, handle that the evenly lit light everywhere in front of the vehicle. So yeah, I would say they're adequate. They're just not really impressive. I think the motion headlights, they're not really doing much, because the problem is, why would you need to aim a light if it's because it doesn't have a pattern that's everywhere, you know? The vehicles that impress me are the ones that have light everywhere. You don't have to move it 10 feet or to the left or right, you know? It's the lights that just shine everywhere. You don't have, you already see over there. You don't have to turn the steering wheel to look that way, you know? So yeah, they're just trying to use less light to cover more area. So I guess in that sense, the motion headlights could come in handy in certain areas. But yeah, just having a better designed headlight system would be better, and having a cornering light would definitely be better. And of course, the cargo light, the interior lights need to be improved. You know, an approach light, maybe some puddle lights in the back, pocket lights, some floorboard illumination. Basically, if you are going to use this vehicle to go out in the middle of nowhere and do stuff, just make sure you carry a flashlight or two, you know, because you know, you're going to need it basically.
Engines roar beneath the blackened sky. Headlights cut through with shadows.